there's a few things I want to talk to you about today. And we're going to be talking about how to handle in-travel emergencies and customer complaints.
Right.
So first, let's cover real quick in-travel customer complaints. So if you were on our live last week, I talked about the why you should work with a travel supplier versus booking direct with a brand. You're going to see this come to life like in real time here. All right. So when you're working with a travel supplier and a customer and an emergency situation comes in while during travel, you want to call that customer service department for any in-travel situations. For example, a client, misses their flight, and so they're going to be on a different flight. And so you need to contact customer service to say, hey, can you contact the transfer company? Let them know this is our client's new flight information. They're going to be arriving at this time on this flight number. Okay. So, or sometimes it happens where they miss a flight and they're not going to be able to get on a new flight till the next day. Then you got to call customer service through your travel supplier, and you need to let them know, hey, they're still coming, but now they're coming tomorrow and they're going to be arriving at this time, on this flight. So then you have to make sure that all the information is relayed, because if people are no-shows, you have to remember when it comes to travel, if somebody doesn't show up when they're expected to show up and doesn't call, they're a no-show, and the resort basically is like they're not coming, and then their room is not available anymore. So you want to make sure that the resort is notified that these guests are still coming, and they're just going to be a day late, right? So that's why it's good to have these you just make sure you know who to call, or who to direct your customer to call.
We had a client one time who came to our home office and came and gave us like her final payment. She was going to Sandals in Jamaica. It was going to be her anniversary. And later that when they were supposed to, the day they traveled, the resort calls us and says, your clients haven't arrived yet. And we're like, what in the world?
We haven't heard anything. Right. Then I could not reach her.
Right.
I was looking up. I had emergency contact, couldn't reach her daughter.
Right. We called her daughter. We called her. We tried everybody. And we never heard from her until suddenly 2 years, maybe later.
Yeah.
Another travel person from like another town was calling us, reaming us out because of this lady not fulfilling her trip. And we're like, first of all, who are you? Why are you reaming on us? Come to find out, the poor woman, she went home to surprise her husband with this anniversary trip, and he told her he was divorcing her on that day or something like that. It was horrible.
It was
so she never went on the trip. So they never traveled.
But never let me know. And then
let us know.
I'm literally worried. I'm like praying.
Like, did she get in a car accident on the way there?
Oh my gosh, what is going on? I'm like scouring like what's going on in the news. Is there anything that that could have happened? Okay, she would have been traveling on this road.
Right.
I mean,
Did a flight go
literally, down? I'm like literally panicking.
So come to find out, though, she wanted her credit, or she was hoping she had a credit on her trip, but didn't come to us. She went to a different, and then come to find out, though, there was a little bit of habitual pattern, some of that with her behavior. But anyway, this other travel person thought she was God's gift to travel and was just reaming us like we didn't know what we were like.
And then we told her, like, this is what we did.
This is exactly what we did. And she didn't want to let it go. She wanted to make us look bad, I think, too, in front of her, make herself the hero.
But in the end, Lou ended up having de-escalate that whole conversation.
I did.
I was ready to just start. You don't even know what I went through. I'm ready to have that kind of a moment. So these types of situations come up. You need to know what to do. And one thing that I didn't write in here that obviously I need to circle back and say, you should have an emergency contact for all of your clients. So once a customer, just so you know, once a customer is en route and they're checked in at the airport, at that point, the airline is responsible to assist them in getting on another flight. So if they missed their flight, they missed their connection, there was a delay, there was a mechanical error, whatever the situation might be, once they're checked in at the airport and they've missed their flight or connection or whatever the circumstance is, the airline is then responsible to help them get to their destination. So at that point, if you didn't book the flight, they booked the flight, you would give direction on what they need to do. But you just need to know, because if somebody calls you from the airport, they need help, they need an answer, and you need to be able to give them the proper advice on that. It's wise to have the contact information of the wedding manager, the sales manager, or the hotel manager in case a situation occurs. So these are things that you just want to have available to you. So if something is going on, you have the contact information for these people. Yes, I talked about the guy who was smoking marijuana at the resort. Okay, so he's a wedding guest. And, when you get a phone call from the resort management team,
I remember this,
that your guest is causing issues, it's like, this doesn't, if this has never happened to you, you know why this is not a normal thing.
Because normally you get a phone call that your guest is having issues, not the resort calling you saying your guest is causing issues. It's supposed to be the other way. Usually it's the other way around.
So I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Okay, this guy's in Mexico. First of all, what is he thinking? It was like 2015. So this guy was in Mexico in a foreign country doing something illegal. What are you thinking?
Not just him. I think it wasn't just him. I think there was a few of his people that were doing something illegal together.
Okay. So they call me. I think I reached out to the guest individually myself and called his room or whatever and talked to him first. Then,
so you were able to get a hold of him?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
And I said, listen, this is what's going on. You cannot do that. Okay. We've got it. Whatever's happening, whoever, I don't know if it's your neighbor who's complaining. I don't know if it's like the maid services coming in and seeing
somebody's smelling it there,
but something's happening and they know what's happening. So I'm like, you got to cut that out. Like we're getting complaints. Okay. So then 2 days goes by, I think. And I hear back from the hotel and they're just like, it's still going on, because I'm trying to keep the bride and groom out of this drama. Right. Because I don't
so it wasn't the bride and groom. It was one of the guests.
It was one of the wedding guests.
Okay. All right.
So I'm trying to keep them out of this drama. But at that point, I'm like, I have to bring them into this. They're the only people who really know this person, who I can trust. And they're going to trust that what I'm saying is the truth. So I then had to escalate the situation, bring it to the bride and groom. And I believe I told on the phone, that guest, like, if this doesn't stop, I will have to let whatever their names were, the bride and groom's names, I will have to let them know. And so evidently that wasn't a big deal to him, because then he continued doing that. And so then I called the bride and groom and they had to put a stop to that situation,
because they were going to arrest him. You guys, they were saying he will be arrested and put into a jail. In Mexico.
So the second interesting story I wanted to share with you is that, and the horrible part about this is that this happened at the exact same resort. A totally different wedding group.
Oh no.
Totally different wedding group, but got a call from the resort. But
I remember this.
This time,
oh boy, guys,
I'm hearing what's happening in the background as they're on the phone with me. So the hotel's calling me up. Yes, Tami. So we have your bride and groom here at the front desk, and they're causing some disturbance.
Oh my
in the background, the bride is screaming like a crazy lunatic lady off the hinges, just so upset because of the seaweed. The water looked like garbage. So it was really, really bad that year. And she was doing a beach wedding and she got there and she just could not. And I had no idea. I think she was the first bride that year that
she might have
had that situation. So I had no idea because we're not there. I don't remember exactly what happened from that. Obviously,
she eventually calmed down. I forget what they did.
I think that, here's what I think we did. I think I was able to get her an upgrade to the roof for free, to the rooftop.
Yes, you did. To the sky wedding. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I got her an upgrade to that, and then she was fine. So a lot of times what happens really is the after travel customer complaints. I think the most frustrating part about this is that a lot of times people don't let you know that they're having an issue until they get back.
Right.
And it's like, why didn't you tell me when you were there? I could have helped,
right,
make the situation right. So anything that you find out after travel, you want to email the travel supplier's customer service department. Again,
right.
Why do we work with a travel supplier? Because it makes our life so much easier when these types of things come up, and let them deal with it. So what you have to send them, of course, is the name of the travelers, the booking number, the name of the resort.
Right.
And then you'll want to keep the customer in the loop of what you've done, including any follow-ups. One thing for sure you want to do is make sure that you're setting the expectation of the process of this, right? Because people think that you're going to have an answer to them in like 2 days. And so, for example, I had a wedding group travel in March. I think it was the end of March that they traveled. And customers get back. They were upset because they paid for a beachfront room. It was a garden view room. Okay, so here's what happened.
All right.
They paid for a beachfront room. Documents say beachfront junior suite. They get there. There's no beachfront anything. Okay. Then they talk to the hotel lobby. The hotel lobby says, we don't even have beachfront rooms here.
Oh my gosh.
So,
yeah, the description,
but my documents say beachfront and I paid for beachfront, right? So that's what your customer's thinking. This is what happens, right? So they get back with me after the fact. Well, we already knew that this was going on, but there wasn't anything we could do because there weren't any beachfront rooms. So it's not like we could move them to a beachfront room. So, we get the information from the couple. And then, so then I had to submit a complaint, a formal complaint through the travel supplier. And I just had to share the story. Like, hey, this is what happened. This is what they were told on property. Yeah. This is what they paid for. This is the cost difference between the beachfront and the garden view. I would like a refund for this X amount of dollars, for that whole thing. So then, of course, the travel supplier takes it to the resort. The resort agrees because it's the truth, right? So was it a loading system, right? Was the travel supplier the one who had the error because they had these rooms, beachfront junior suites, loaded in their inventory that didn't exist? Or was it the resort who gave these names to these rooms and let the inventory be released to the travel supply? People do not understand how this all works. And so they're going to blame the first person there and the easiest person to blame. And it's going to be the travel professional. Right. So, but in the end, it took a full month for this to get resolved. One whole month. So you have to set that expectation of that this isn't something that happens overnight. There's some investigation. I'm going to submit this information. Anything that I hear back, I'll let you know. And then just keeping them in the loop when you're making follow-ups, making notice, giving notices of what to follow up.
So this flows perfectly into what I was hoping to talk about.
Okay, good. And then a couple of quick tips. Never promise anything. Okay. Because you really do. When you hear the story from a customer, you may get a completely different story from the resort or from the transfer company or from whoever's involved. And they likely have documentation. If there was any sort of complaint done on site at the property, that resort is going to have documentation of that. And also never take responsibility for anything that isn't your fault.
Right.
Okay. So don't take responsibility, because the moment that you take responsibility for it, then they are going to come after you. That client could then turn towards you and say, well, then you give me my money back. Right. Okay. And then be sympathetic and be an advocate for your client, even if they're being pushy.
Yeah. Sure.
Be sympathetic and an advocate, always thinking about it from their perspective. Okay.
Sure.
You have to just put yourself in their shoes, how they are, what they're feeling, how they're viewing this, how this is, maybe getting them emotional or getting them upset. Yeah. Even if they're being pushy, even if they're trying to point fingers at you, your role is to still be sympathetic. Your role is to still advocate for them if, there's any sort of correction that could be made, anything that could make it right. Okay. How to de-escalate tense conversations?
Yeah.
Listen
Yes.
up, folks. No, I'm kidding.
You guys, the bottom line, the number one thing people want when they're upset is they want to be heard.
Yeah.
All right. So that is the number one, even the one travel person that called me, the lady that was acting like she was God's gift to travel. And she thought we didn't handle this woman who didn't show up on her trip and never told us and wouldn't respond to our calls or emails. I listened to her and let her say whatever she wanted. And I know it's hard, especially if you haven't done anything, if you don't deserve it, you don't deserve to get reamed on, but sometimes it's okay. You're gonna turn the situation for your good, because you don't need bad reviews. None of us need negative reviews. In this world, it's too competitive. So the way to avoid a negative review is let them get it off their chest. You know, let them just get it out. This lady was getting it all out. It took her a long time. She really liked to say stuff. And then when she was done, then immediately you should agree, come to a common understanding on one thing they said.
Right.
So agree with their disappointment, right? Agree with them and validate their upsetness,
Right.
because that's going to go a long way to helping win them over.
Understanding why they feel and how they feel, right? And then you ensure them that you're going to submit the complaint to the appropriate parties, and you're going to keep them posted on the response. You know, this is what we have to, this is our role, and kind of setting that expectation and making sure that people understand how this all works. So there we go. Boom.
Yeah. And that was my biggest thing I wanted to say, is that making sure that they vent, let them feel validate their feelings and their experience. People, once you validate somebody, their defenses go down.
Right.
And then they're open to hear what you have to say to them. Let them know you're their advocate and that you're on their side. We're a team. We're going to work together to help get this figured out, because I care about, and you can say, I care about my reputation too. I don't know why this happened. I looked over everything. This is exactly what it was supposed to be. And I take pride in me being excellent. And this wasn't excellent. And I'm going to figure out what happened.
And then I also think that something you can do proactively when working with your couples is, throughout the whole process, always going above and beyond.
Build a relationship with your clients.
Yes.
Even a little bit with the customers. I mean, that's why we always recommend that you build out an automated email sequence that goes out, timed out to your wedding guest, because even though they're not your bride and groom, you're still communicating with them.
Right.
They still feel like they're building a relationship with you.
Right. Okay, everyone. Have an awesome day, awesome week.
All right, guys.
God bless.
God bless, and keep eating donuts.
All right. See you guys.